But during this time also, there was another factor I thought about that affected me personally. And that was the fact that Lewis was president of the Chamber of Commerce. And I was seeing his love of the community, his desire to make it better. And so all of this was coming together, and I figured out, I'm 80 now. Next year, the library will be 40 years old. So, I mean, I can subtract those big numbers real easy. I was between about 35 and 45 when all this happened. So I'm looking around. Who in here is of that age? Is there anyone? You and Lou must be the only two. And no, oh, you're my age, yes. Well, anyway, as I started studying what libraries could do to improve themselves, I connected with the Texas State Library in Austin. And in fact, they became sort of my friends. And I discovered that they were going to have a network that was going to connect all the libraries in the state. But if you were to be connected, you had to be a public library. So for a while, I did research pretty much with just a few extra hands and tried to share this research with the women of the Federation of Women's Club, those 5 women's clubs. And try as they would, I just don't think there was a way they could feel comfortable moving from where they were to a situation that I wanted. And there were other people within the organizations, and I might as well call some names. Ina Jean was one of them. Maxie Keys was another. She was very brave about speaking up and trying to help me. Eleanor Harris was another. But it was kind of, I don't know how to explain it to you. It was a very, very difficult time, and it was a hard time. And back then, nobody really wanted to hurt anybody else, I don't think. There wasn't the nastiness that you see now. This whole movement happened, and I'd never heard a cross word. If there was a cross word, I promise you, it happened somewhere not around me, but I was at the center of what was happening. So, we moved on, and I didn't know exactly what to do. Lewis went out of the presidency of the chamber, and Bill Gaw, the president of Marshall National Bank, became the next president of the chamber. He knew about my work, and in the meantime, Alcoa had come here, and there was a need for them to have library services. They wanted it. And through Lewis and being in chamber circles, I detected this. And I didn't want my community to be backward in anything. I wanted it to be foremost. And I think Bill shared that, and he knew exactly what I was about. There really was no question about where I really wanted the community to go or felt it should go at that time. And so he appointed me as a chairman of the Culture and Education Committee, which he created just for this particular issue. And our goal was to establish library service as a department of the city after we studied it. And then it was to establish a friends group to assist the city with that. Then it was to try to get the county to pay their share of public library service for the county. And we had hoped that it would be half and half, that the city would set up the department that the county would pay half of the expenses, and we would be off and running. Well, you know, things don't always work out exactly like you want or you think they should by the book. That would have been the perfect thing to happen. But it didn't happen. And we started this committee, and I remember one of the first things that happened to me was I went to my mailbox and there was a letter from Tony Bridge out at KMHT suggesting to me that he agreed with having public library service for Marshall and that he would be happy to do anything he could to help and to call on him if he could help. So I called on him. He became a part of the committee. He was the first Friends president. Lou decided she wanted to join the committee. Bonnie Spangler was on the committee, and Bonnie did a statewide survey to try to help us understand just what was going on in the state as far as public libraries and where we were, and we ended up being the largest city in the state without public library service, which didn't sound too good. But anyway, we persevered and organized the Friends, and by late 1969, the Friends had grown to over 800 members. There were 70 organizations in Harrison County that passed resolutions in favor of public library service for Marshall and Harrison County. And Sally Gullion also joined our efforts. And we had a Christmas parade that year, and I think it followed a presentation that we did to the city. The presentation was done by Don Harper, Don Knutson, and me, based on the facts that we had found during our study. But Sally was the one that did this cute little float for the parade, and it had a big present with a big bow on it. I have a picture of it right here in my scrapbook that if you want to see, you can. And it said, "A gift for our children." And that kind of said it, really. We wanted to be able to give the very best for our children. So the city kind of molded over. We had asked that they establish us as a department of the city, and we thought that about $189,000 would help us get started real well. That's what our consultant, E.M. Adams, who was our professional library consultant, said it would take for us to do what we needed to do. And they agreed that they would make us a department of the city, and they also agreed that they would give us $10,000. So here we had a whole year ahead of us to try to provide library service to the city for $10,000. Of course, the Friends had been raising some money also, and so we moved along and decided that we would do the best we could with what we were given. And we also had to set up the library trustees. There had never been such a thing, so we had to write the bylaws and we had to organize it. And Lou was one of the first trustees, weren't you, Lou? Elderline Coker was elected chairman of the trustees, but bless her heart, she was sick. And I was vice chairman, so I really helped her as much as I could, and pretty soon I had to become acting chairman because she wanted to be there, but she really was not well. Liddell Hill had been here not too long. Her husband came here with Allied Bank, the little bank over here across the street. And E.M. Adams was a trustee, Frank Green, and Kenneth Abney, Carolyn Abney's husband, who was an attorney, and we needed him. We definitely needed him to keep us out of trouble. So the first thing we had to do was find space, which Frank Green helped us find. the bank owned the building across from the Hub Shoe Store, which turned out to be a pretty nice thing. And so we rented that space, and then it was time to look for a librarian.